Hey guys, so this is a little bit kind of a different video this time. I'm gonna be straight with you. I'm sorry, that was a really funny sentence given the title of the video. This is an assignment for school. I was given this assignment as part of my class, and I was just gonna, do it and upload it as unlisted and send it to my professor and all that good stuff. But I think the message is very important, so I've decided to, actually go and share it with you guys. And the portion I would like graded begins now, please. Thank you. So, society tells us that straight is the norm. Men need to end up with women, and women need to end up with men. Anything outside of that norm is minority and other terms that make people feel inferior to others. And I was brainwashed in this way for over 2 decades. I always liked girls. I know I did. But I was raised in a Catholic household under my dad, whom I love very dearly, but recognize is very anti-LGBT. I was raised and taught by him and the world around me that girls like boys and have to marry boys. But I knew that I like girls. I knew that. But it wasn't right for me to. So when I was in middle school, I decided for myself that I was bisexual because some part of me still had to like boys. And even though I had this attraction, I only dated boys. I realized within the past 2 years since I've been out that I only dated boys that I was friends with first. And I realized that it was because since I lacked any physical attraction to them, I chose my potential mates based on liking them as a person. This male is my friend, so the next logical step is dating and marriage and a happy life, turns into love. That's how my brain tried to make sense of it all and try to adjust myself to fit this square peg into this round hole. It never worked. And I started to discriminate against myself and tell myself, something is wrong with you. You're supposed to be happy, and you aren't, and that means something inside you is broken. My attempts to make sense of myself cost me a lot of really close friendships. I got my first boyfriend in 8th grade, which failed because it was a petty middle school relationship where neither of us had any idea of what we were doing. He dumped me when we were high school freshmen, and I never spoke to him again. Then I dated another boy on and off for a few years. I didn't like him that much, and I think I broke up with him about 4 different times. But I kept going back to him because he was familiar and treated me well, and when I didn't have a boyfriend to occupy my time, I was stuck questioning what was wrong with me again. Why don't you have a boyfriend? Everybody else has a boyfriend. When I ended it for good, I never spoke to him again. Then I dated the only boy I ended amicably with. Chris is still a close friend of mine, and he broke it off with me because I think he realized after only 2 weeks that I did not want to really change from being friends, and that aside from the coveted boyfriend-girlfriend title, nothing had changed between us. He's very supportive of me and a true friend I hope to keep my whole life. We play Dungeons & Dragons every Sunday, and I love Chris like a brother, and I can't tell you how glad I am that he broke my record for cutting contact. After Chris, I got into my first real disaster. This boy was in love with me, and I felt nothing for him, and he pestered me to date him until I got so fed up that I said yes to get him to stop. Don't ever do that. That's a really bad thing. Don't do that. I wasted 2 years of my life with this guy, who could not function without me. He was obsessively clingy and controlling, and I couldn't so much as play a video game, with all my contact channels still open, mind you, without him complaining that I was being neglectful of his needs. He was the kind of person where I was afraid to break up with him because I was worried he might hurt himself without me. But when I finally did, I never spoke to him again. Though I do hear he's doing well, so that's good. After him was the biggest mistake of my entire life. This boy was a longtime friend, and it wasn't until after we got together that I realized he was a psychopath. He was manipulative and controlling and isolating and obsessed with sex, which I had until that point managed to avoid having. Guys, never, ever have sex with someone just to make them happy. I cannot stress this enough. All it will do is raise their expectations and back you into a corner that you cannot mentally claw out of. And once I became sexually active, I was questioning more than ever what was wrong with me. Why am I like this? Why am I broken? He got worse and worse and more aggressive, but he wired me in such a way that when he grew bored of me, I missed him and I didn't know what to do with myself without him. I did finally escape him for good when I was 21, and I dearly hope to never speak to him again, because if I do, the police are getting involved. That's how bad it got. But in that last mockery of a relationship, when I was at my absolute lowest and questioning everything, I met Abby. We just had everything in common. She was smart and funny and kind and talented, and so beautiful you would think that she was a goddess on earth. I was calling myself bi, but I had to be straight to fit in, so I could not allow myself to think of her in any light other than friendship. I tried really, really hard to be her friend, but it is true what they say, that it happened very slowly and then all at once. Abby was, and still is, the last thing I think about before I fall asleep, and the first thing I think about when I wake up. I remember very distinctly one morning, I woke up around dawn after 2 or 3 hours of sleep, stared at this very ceiling for about a minute, and then said out loud, "Fuck. I'm in love with her." I count my lucky stars every single day that she loves me too, because she is my lottery ticket. She is all the luck I will ever have in my entire life. I cashed my lifetime supply of good fortune on getting this perfect woman to love me back. We have spoken to each other every single day for over 2 years. We've never missed a day. Even when we're both busy, we've always popped online long enough for a quick "I love you," "good night," "thinking of you," etc. I want to spend my life with her and lift her up and see her accomplish all her dreams, and move to England with her where she was born, and live in an apartment that's small and shitty but great because it's ours, and raise 14.5 animals with her, and maybe a couple of kids, but mostly animals. But the thing I love most, the thing I will be eternally grateful to her for, is the fact that she saved me. She forced me to question myself the hardest I've ever questioned, and I realized that I'd spent almost 10 years of my life perpetually angry. I was always driven to be in a relationship to keep up the appearance of normalcy in the eyes of society, but when I was in the relationship, I was unhappy and angry all the time. Every relationship that ended has ended with me hating the other person. I think Chris was only spared of that because her trial run was so short. Abby made my entire life suddenly make sense. I remembered being a little girl and seeing women in movies and thinking they were beautiful, but I wanted to just look at how pretty they were, instead of wanting to look like them, like the other girls. I remembered my anime phase in middle and early high school and latching onto male characters that looked the most like women. I remembered playing Harvest Moon as a tween and getting way into the marriage mechanic, because back then you couldn't play as a female, but playing as a male never bothered me, because I got to pick the prettiest girl I could find and marry her. I will still pick straight options in video games, but if I do, I realized after this epiphany, it's because I like the character's base personality best of all the options, and once the game is turned off, there's no pressure on me to continue with them. I love Alistair from Dragon Age. He's adorable and hilarious and precious and must be protected, and he's my favorite of the 4 options, so I romance him 9 times out of 10. But if he were a real person with an actual penis, I wouldn't want anything to do with him, if that makes any sense at all. I'm rambling now. God forbid we talk about video games on a video game channel, am I right? Falling in love with Abby just made everything click. My behaviors and the likes of my past made sense, and for the first time since I could remember, I was happy. I am happy. She makes me so happy. That part is obvious. I am happy and content in my relationship, but for the first time, I'm happy with myself. I know that this is how I was always meant to be. I am a lesbian, and that's okay. I was born this way. This is how I'm supposed to exist. It took me 21 years in the right woman to come out to myself. Society is going to tell you that you have to act a certain way, like certain things, be a certain way. I'm a strong person with very loud opinions and very little care of what anyone else thinks about me, and it still managed to almost crush me. If you're struggling with who you are, if you don't want to admit a part of yourself because it doesn't mesh with the norm, you don't have to be afraid. Is it going to be hard? Yeah, absolutely. But the happiness and contentment that comes after it is worth it. This is the end of the graded portion. The rest is just for my viewers. So that's my story. And if you have similar stories or you're struggling with this, hit me up on Twitter at ShadowRael, please. I'm willing to talk and be open and share and give shitty advice that you definitely shouldn't take, but I'll give it anyway. So thank you everybody so much for watching. This is not the usual kind of content I put out, but and it will not be the norm. So we'll get back to our regularly scheduled gaming. So I've been Rael, and I'll see you on the gaming side. Bye.